Hello. Hi everyone. Today we'll continue going over the Microsoft AZ204 question bank. Next, we'll be covering questions 41 to 45. Here, I want to point something out. Questions 41 to 45 have a particular feature. Let me show you the questions first. 45, 44, 43, 42, and 41. As you can see, a lot of the content in these questions is similar, even identical. These 5 questions are actually part of the same series. These 5 questions are part of the same series, and their backgrounds are also similar. They present different requirements under different scenarios, asking us to determine whether something is correct or not. All 5 of these are judgment questions, but you could also consider them multiple choice questions because the judgment isn't always as simple as A is yes, B is no. The options might change. Right? Among these questions, 2 use yes, no, and 3 use no, yes. So you really need to pay close attention here. Don't just assume it's a judgment question and automatically pick A for correct, or you might get it wrong. So we need to be careful here. Pay attention. First, let's look at the overall background. We've developed a SaaS product for managing software and services. As for the users, they upload photos to a web service, which then stores the photos in Microsoft Azure Blob Storage, with the storage account type being general purpose v2. Then, when a photo is uploaded, we must process it specifically, generate and save a version of the image suitable for mobile devices. Additionally, the main requirement is that it must be able to start up within 1 minute. The processing time can't be too long. Next, we need to design a workflow for initiating photo processing. As for the solution, well, the answer to the first question is to trigger photo processing through blob storage events. Does this solution meet the objectives? Let's take a look. Our overall goal is that after a photo is uploaded, the processing workflow should be initiated within 1 minute. The solution then is as follows. Azure Blob Storage supports event triggers. So we can use Azure Event Grid or functions to respond to upload operations in real time, and the delay is usually less than 1 minute. So what does this mean? Well, the general purpose v2 storage account natively supports event notifications, and there's no need to change the storage account type. Therefore, the solution for this question meets the requirements, so we choose A. Since this is the second question, let's take a look at the background for question 2. First of all, we have deployed a Microsoft app to a Windows-hosted deployment slot named deployment, and we've also created 2 additional dedicated slots, testing and production. We have enabled auto swap on the production slot. You need to ensure that a script runs before the swap operation occurs and that resources are available. The solution is to update our web config file to include mainly the configuration elements for application initialization. Here, we specify a custom initialization operation to run the script. Does this solution meet the requirements? First, what are the requirements? The goal is to run the script and ensure digital resources are available before the slot swap. The key point of this question lies in the application initialization. Application initialization is a feature of IaaS that allows you to perform custom initialization operations when the application starts. For example, running scripts or preheating resources is suitable for preparation before deploying slot swaps. So we are correct in this question, but we choose option B. Yes, option B is correct. This isn't a simple true or false question, so everyone should pay attention to the order of the options and their placement. All right, that's the second question. Now, for the third question, let's move on to the third one. The scenario here is the same as in our second question, but the solution is different. It involves enabling auto swap for the testing slot and deploying the application to the testing slot. Now, the question is whether this solution can ensure that scripts are run and resources are available before the swap operation. As for this solution, enabling auto swap for the testing slot only changes the deployment process, but it doesn't involve running scripts or initializing resources, which is unrelated to our goal. The main point of this question is to know that the operation needs to happen before the swap, not just an adjustment to the deployment process. So for this question, our answer is that it's incorrect, but we should select a choose A for incorrect answer. All right, that's the first one. For the third question, let's move on to the fourth one. The scenario in the fourth question is still the same as in our second question. Since the scenario is the same, we won't go into details about it. The solution here is to disable auto swap. Update the application to add a method called status check to run the script, then re-enable auto swap and deploy to the production slot. Does this solution meet the objective? First of all, the objective remains unchanged, to ensure that the script is executed before the swap by adding a check. However, this method cannot guarantee that the custom method will be automatically called during the auto swap process. Microsoft's auto swap relies on the initialization of our application or the settings of the deployment slot, not on a custom approach. Therefore, this solution is not feasible for this question, so the correct choice is to reject it. A, which is our fourth question. For the fifth question, everyone should pay attention. Its scenario is the same as the first question. That is, questions 2, 3, and 4 share one scenario, while questions 1 and 5 share another. For this question, our solution is to convert our Azure storage account to a block blob storage account. Can this solution meet the requirements? So first, let's review the objective. The goal of the first question is to trigger the processing workflow within 1 minute, right? Now, block blob storage is a high-performance block storage designed specifically for frequently accessed block data. It seems like the speed is very fast, right? However, changing the account type like this will not automatically trigger the processing logic. It still relies on the mechanism mentioned above, that is, the mechanism in the first question. So, for this question, this solution is unrelated to my objective, so we should choose B. These 5 questions are all part of the same series, so when you're working on them, be sure to pay attention to the context between questions. There may be similar options in different scenarios, and the order of yes and no in the options might change. So that's the content of these 5 questions. If you need the complete question bank, you can leave a comment below and get the most reliable question bank at the best price. That's all for today. Goodbye, everyone.